Now it's time to make a glass piston and a glass cylinder. So I will move the camera to cover, and we will use the displacer piston as a reference. So I will select the displacer piston and I will hide unselected parts. So I press Ctrl Alt Space. And as you see, the displacer piston has jagged edges. So if you select the piston and then go to Properties, and here you can change surface smoothness. So I will select the value and I will type 60 and hit enter, and now it is a lot smoother. So next we will create the glass piston. So we come up here to use Spin Wizard. We select that command and we will click here on this face, and we will use a standalone and click next, and it will be 360 degrees and along the selected surface. Then I click finish. Then we will move the grid to the center of the piston, so I will use the tri-ball, right click the center handle and to choose the center point of this edge, then turn off the tri-ball. Then we will also project this surface to the grid. So we come up here to select project, and we will select this surface and press escape to exit the command, and then we grab this handle and we snap it to the origin. And to draw the profile we will use a polyline, so I use the S key, and from this menu I will select polyline, and the starting point will be this end point of the line. So I will click here, drag perpendicular to the x-axis. Here I will right click and type 40 and hit enter. Then I drag perpendicular to the y-axis and click here on the y-axis to end the line, and then I press escape to exit the polyline command. And we will also add a fillet here in this corner. So I use the S key again and select fillet. Then I click here on the node, drag until it stops to the maximum, and the value is 14.4, so I will type 14 and hit enter. Then I press escape to exit the command and right click here and choose finish drawing. So I will select this piston in part level, and I will hide the unselected part, so I will use Ctrl Alt Space. And now we will make this piston hollow, so we choose shell part, and here in properties we will use inside, and we will also choose open faces, and this face will be open, and the thickness will be 2 millimeters. So I click OK, and we have made the glass piston. So we will select it in part level, we go to properties, and here we type in username, we type glass piston, hit enter, we copy the name and paste it here, and the part number will be 116. Then we come down here to Smart Paint settings. Here we can change the transparency. We can grab the slider and drag it, and we will also change the value to 50 and hit enter. So now we can bring back the hidden parts, so we press shift and space like so. And next step is to create a glass cylinder, and we will use the crankcase as a reference. So we select the crankcase and we hide unselected parts by pressing Ctrl Alt Space. And we will also change the smoothness of the crankcase. So we select the crankcase in part level, come over to the properties and change the smoothness here to 60. Hit enter. So now the glass piston will be placed inside this hole, placed on top of this surface here. So we will use a spin wizard again. We come up here, select spin wizard, and then we will click here on this surface, and we will use stand alone, click next, 360 along the selected surface and we'll click Finish. And we will move the grid to the center of the hole. So I turn on the tribal, right click the center handle to center point of this hole, turn off the tribal. And then we will project this surface to the grid. So we come up here to select Project, click this surface, press Escape to exit the command. Then we will grab this endpoint and snap it to the origin. Then we will draw the profile by using polyline. So I will press S, select polyline, and we will begin here on this endpoint of the line. I click here, and the length of this line will be a little bit shorter than 5 millimeters. So I will drag the line perpendicular to the x-axis, and here I right click and type 4.8 and hit enter. Then we drag the line perpendicular in this direction along the x-axis here, and here I right click and type 1.5, and then we move the line or drag the line perpendicular to the x-axis in this direction, and here I right click and type 60 and hit enter. Then we will end the line here by dragging it to the y-axis, and we click here, and here we press Escape to exit the polyline command. And we will also add a fillet here, so I use the S key again, select fillet, click here on the node and drag until it stops to the maximum 17.4, so I will type 17 and hit enter. Then I press Escape to exit command. Then we will make a copy of this line on the inside so that the cylinder will have a thickness. So to copy that line, we come up here to select Offset, and we come over to the Properties. We see here the distance is 10 right now, but I will type 2. And we don't need any constraints, so I will uncheck that box. We select the line here, and we see in my copy is placed here, a preview of the copy is placed outside this line. So it should be placed inside. So I come over here to the Properties, and I will check Flip Direction so that the copy will be placed here on the inside. Then I will select this line as well, and also the last part here. And then I will click OK. And we will extend this line to this line. So I will use the S key again, and here we have Extend Curve to Curve. So I will click this line to extend it to that line here. Then I press Escape to exit, and I use S key again to select Trim to trim this line. And then I press Escape to exit the command, and I right click and choose Finish Drawing. Then I select this cylinder in part level, and I will hide the crankcase by pressing Ctrl-Alt-Space, and we will round some edges here. So I will select the cylinder, use the S key, and I will use Blend, and here in Radius and Properties I will type 1, and I will select that edge, this one, and this one. Then I right click here and click OK, like so. Then we select the cylinder in part level, come over to the Properties, and here we will change the name to Glass Cylinder. Hit enter, copy the name and paste it here. And the part number will be 117. And we will do the same with this one. We will change the transparency to 50. And then we will bring back all the hidden parts, so I press Shift and Space. Then I move the camera to top front right and Fit Scene. And I will save this scene now, and we will continue in the next video.